If you're booking your first cruise on NCL in 2026, a lot has changed, and it can be really confusing. By the end of this video, you'll know when to book, how to avoid overpaying, and which free offers are actually worth it. Hi, it's Brian from the Independent Cruiser. This is episode 1 of our new NCL 101 series. We are going back to basics. I'm going to walk you through exactly when to book, get the best price. We're going to break down the math of free at sea to see if it's actually free. And I'm going to teach you my 6-step price protocol. This is the exact method I use to plan my own cruises. First, let's talk about timing. The number one question I get is, when is the best time to book? My advice is always book as early as possible. You generally want to look at 2 specific windows. Window number 1 is the far out strategy. This is 12 to 18 months in advance. The benefit here isn't always the lowest price, but the choice of stateroom. But window number 2 is where the deals often live. This is what I call the final payment drop. For most cruises, final payment is due 120 days prior to sailing. That is a critical date. Often right around that 120-day mark, you see a flood of inventory coming back into the system. When supply goes up, it seems like NCL often drops the price. However, it's critical that you verify your risk tolerance. If you wait for the drop, you might lose flight availability. So my advice for a first timer, book early, monitor the price, and if it drops before final payment, call NCL, your travel agent, and ask for the new fare. If you're within the 120-day final payment window, you can ask for a future cruise credit for the difference. So there's really no downside to booking early. One final comment on sales. Based on my experience, the price does not change much from sale to sale. Now, update number 2, and this is a big one, is understanding the new free at sea program. You will see this plastered everywhere. Free open bar, free specialty dining, free Wi-Fi. If you take nothing else from this video, remember this. It is included, but it comes with a cost. Let's break down the math because there are winners and losers here depending on how you cruise. First, the beverage package. The beverage package is $28.50 per passenger, and both passengers in the cabin are required to purchase the package. For a 7-day cruise, for a couple, you're paying $399 for the free drink package. Now, if you drink cocktails, wine, or soda, that is an amazing deal. A single cocktail is $12.50 plus tip, so the math works in your favor quickly. There's also a new Free at Sea Plus program that provides a lot of benefits for an additional $49.99 per person per day. I have a whole video explaining that program that I've linked in the description. But, and this is where I see people losing money, if you're like me who doesn't drink alcohol, and my wife who may just have the occasional glass of wine with dinner, you can save a lot of money by passing on the $3.99 drink package, pay as you go, and come out far ahead. One pro tip. We love Starbucks drinks, which is not included in the drink package. And many ships have an actual Starbucks on board where you can pay with gift cards or through your app. Then you have specialty dining. Depending on the length of your cruise, under the new Free at Sea, you will get a certain number of specialty dining meals included for the first 2 passengers in your cabin. These are not free, but are $20 per meal, which is actually a very good deal as the cover charge for these restaurants runs $40 to $60. This is almost always worth it because the food in places like Cagney's or Marandello is just terrific. Now, the free Wi-Fi is free. 150 minutes for each passenger is included with no additional charge. This is very basic internet for checking messages and browsing. If you want to work or stream, you're going to have to pay to upgrade to one of the unlimited internet plans. Finally, the shore excursion credit. This is usually $50 off per tour for the first person in the cabin. It helps, but it won't cover a full excursion. Free at Sea is really a bundle that you have to tailor to your own needs and wants. So just take a very quick look at that, because if you accept everything across the board, you may be purchasing things that you just don't need. Moving on to step 3, the hardware. NCL has a very diverse fleet. A cruise on the Norwegian Prima is a completely different experience than a cruise on the Norwegian Breakaway or the Jewel. If you're booking your cruise on NCL in 2026, you need to know what you value. Do you want go-karts, laser tag, massive water slides? You want the Breakaway Plus class ships like the Encore or the Escape. These are big, busy resorts at sea. Do you want something more upscale with better food options and more outdoor lounge space? Look at the Prima class, the Prima, Viva, or Aqua. Now, if you're looking at an itinerary with no sea days, you're hitting a port every day, you may not need all of those amenities because you're going to be on shore. And in that case, a Jewel class ship would be perfectly fine and are typically a much lower fare than the newer ships like the Prima class. Now, let's talk cabins. You have inside, ocean view, balcony, and club balcony. And of course, there is the Haven. That is the ship within the ship, private pool, private restaurant, butler service. If it's in your budget, do it. I've never sailed the Haven. We have friends that have done it and they absolutely loved it. We like a standard balcony cabin between decks 10 and 12 towards the aft elevators. One thing we like about that cabin location is you can drop down the stairs 2 or 3 decks to a lot of activities and restaurants and the atrium, things like that. Conversely, you can hop on the elevator and pop up to the higher decks where the pool, the buffet, the kids clubs are. So we just like decks 10, 11, 12 towards the rear of the ship. Okay, this is the most important part of the video. This is my 6-step price protocol. When you see an advertised price, do not budget based on that. Here is how you calculate the real cost of an NCL cruise. Step 1, NCL has now combined the base fare plus taxes and port fees. So your starting price should be pretty accurate. Step 2, the daily service charge. This is the crew gratuity. It is charged automatically to your onboard account, or you can pay it in advance. In 2026, you need to budget $20 per person per day. It may vary slightly depending on your cabin. For a couple on a 7-day cruise, add $280 to your mental budget right now. Step 3, free at sea charges. We talked about this. If you take the drinks, add another $399 for a couple on a 7-day cruise. Step 4, the airfare variable. NCL will offer a buy one, get one airfare. Sometimes this is a great deal, but realize you have no control over the flight times or the airline. Also, NCL just implemented a new policy that all air purchased through them must arrive the day before ship departure, not the day of. I actually agree with this. I think you should always fly in the day before your cruise, but still something you need to be aware of. If you like a certain airline or schedule like me, you might want to book your own flights, but price it out both ways. Step 5, make sure you have any discounts you're entitled to. US and Canadian military qualifies for a 10% discount and educators 5%. And a final discount that's open to everyone is NCL's Cruise First program. These are vouchers, normally $300, that you can purchase for half price. So a $300 voucher would cost you $150. You'd save $150 on your cruise. They can be used for cruises of 6 days or longer and must be used 120 days out. There's a similar program called Cruise Next, and those are only sold on board ship. Step 6, what I call your fun money. This is the money you'll spend on board. Starbucks, arcade games for the kids, an extra steak at dinner. I always recommend adding some amount of budget, maybe $250 to your total, so you've got that part of your total budget. So that $799 per person cruise can easily become a $1,200 or $1,300 cruise once you add in the extra free at sea benefits, the drink package, your specialty dining, and your onboard gratuities. And we haven't even broached things like excursions, spa trips. So it's important you know this number up front so you can budget accordingly. Before we wrap up, let's talk really quick about how to actually book your cruise. There are 3 main ways to book Norwegian. First, you can book directly online, either on NCL's website or through one of the big travel sites. Second, you can use an experienced cruise travel agent. And third, you can work with a Norwegian Personal Cruise Consultant. That's someone who works for NCL and helps you with your bookings. I honestly think option 2 or 3 is the safest move. An experienced cruise travel agent or a good Norwegian Personal Cruise Consultant can walk you through the choices, answer questions you didn't even know to ask yet, and keep an eye out for better promotions or price drops. I personally use a Norwegian Personal Cruise Consultant. What I do is I figure everything out online first. I play with dates, ships, cabins, until I know exactly what I want. Then I call my consultant to actually book the cruise. That gives me a real person who knows my preferences, I have a relationship, and is there to help if I need to change something later. Once you've decided who you're booking through and you've used the steps in this video to sanity check the price, then you're ready to lock in. In episode 2 of this NCL 101 series, we're going to zoom in on one of the biggest decisions people worry about in the booking process, your cabin. We'll walk you through the 5 biggest mistakes people make when they pick a room on Norwegian and how to match the right cabin to the way you actually live on vacation. So if you want to avoid ending up under a noisy pool deck, stuck in a layout that doesn't work for your family, make sure you watch episode 2 next. I'll link it on the screen and in the description as soon as it's live. Now, if you have any questions at all, please drop those in the comments below. I respond to everything. And if you found value in this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in episode 2.